It was honours even between League Two's two CUFCs on Tuesday night. On today's pod, we ponder whether that was a well-earned point or a possible missed opportunity to close the gap on top spots. And as we preview an away trip to bottom of the league, we ask, surely not another Harrogate result? Hello, and a very warm welcome to Under the Abbey Stand. My name is Jordan Warland. On the panel tonight is a disappointed looking Tom Walker, because there was no poetry. Well, not disappointing looking.
That was almost a horrible way to intro me. I'm really glad you rectified that. And the other thing, Jordan, is I know that there was also a lot of disappointment from you about the no poetry on Sunday when we were sat recording. Monday, obviously, not Sunday. I might make up for it now.
Yes.
Look, we're obviously a little bit late for the. I know a lot of it was themed around Valentine's. We were obviously a little bit late for that, but God loves a try and all that. So
let me just make sure the record is on. I don't want to miss this. Yeah, it's there. It's there.
It's definitely working. We're rolling. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure how I feel about this, but we'll go for it. Roses are red, violets are blue. Cambridge United drew 1-1 with Colchester 2. On the pod with Jordan Warland, we sighed, then we smiled. A point in the bag in a game tense and wild.
That's good stuff, mate.
I can see you clapping, but I can't hear it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was clapping. I promise. It wasn't.
Yeah, for the benefit of the tape, that was met with rapturous applause from Jordan. But
two verses, mate. Two verses. I think it needed the second one, because the first one was okay. It was okay, but the second one is where it was won. Good stuff.
Yeah. It's not quite daffodils, is it? But it'll do.
It moved me. Tomo, when we spoke last, I signed off the review pod saying that I think when we meet on the Friday pod, and good morning, by the way, 5 a.m. It's an early start for this record. Happy Friday to those listening. I said I had a feeling that we'd be talking about a draw. And that's exactly what we're doing. 1-1 at home to Colchester, as you said in your lovely poem there. Post-match, Neil Harris said we weren't quite as good as we've been in other games recently, and it was a good point, and he was happy with the point. And I want to know, Tom, do you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I think it is a good point. I think it's a good point for a few reasons. I think like my sort of take during the game was that this is pretty unpleasant to watch, really, and we're well off it, and we're miles off the pace, and we're not playing anywhere near the levels that we've hit in the last 3-4 months now, which was disappointing, to be honest. Thought we were quite slack on the ball at times. Really, again, struggled to make things stick up top, particularly, which is something I'm sure we'll talk about dissecting this game, but specifically looking ahead to Newport. And having started really well and started as much a better team, we couldn't quite make it count, or couldn't quite properly capitalise on sort of early dominance, I think, which all sounds quite negative. But I think we came up against a really good team. That's the first thing, or a team that played well. It seemed like quite a big occasion for them in the stands and on the pitch. They did seem fired up for it. I thought from the early bits of the game, they were moving the ball quickly. They were causing us problems, particularly down the right hand side with Lisby. They get their equaliser, and at that point, there's like a real head of steam there, and that did continue probably into about the 70th minute or something like that. And in that time, they hit the bar. They create a few chances. We're looking pretty shaky at the back. Again, it all sounds quite negative, but we've managed to find a way to not lose the game. Look, we're in League Two, so naturally a lot of the conversation and what we're going to be aiming for is 1s into 3s, whereas in League One it was a lot of 0s into 1s. I think we've turned a 0 into a 1, to be honest, on Tuesday night. The other thing is, and we spent a lot of the pod post Bristol Rovers talking about how much we're looking at other teams' results, how much we analysing what other teams around us are doing. That's the other positive from the night, really, isn't it? That I think it's a night where I think only one of the top 7 won. I think certainly one of the sort of top.
Yeah, was it just Swindon?
Yeah, they're really in contention. That's a great result for them, by the way, away at Barnet, which has really helped them up the league. But all the others dropped points as well. So yeah, I think the other thing as well, and again we'll talk about it more when we're speaking specifically about the performance and individuals. But I thought we battled really well. I thought we showed a lot of good characteristics of a team just to stick in the game, really. we've seen too much in recent years, and obviously it's different level, different opposition, all that sort of stuff. We've seen us too often wilt under pressure, and the games get away from us quite a lot. Um, Obviously, we've not really seen it in League Two because we're playing at a lower level against opposition that objectively just aren't quite as good and probably don't have the capabilities to do that quite as much. But um, there is another world where the one that hits the bar drops just under the bar, and Colchester going to win that game 2 or 3-1.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, and that I think is as big a positive as anything. It's a point on the board and a good night not to lose a game, basically. So yeah, I think I hope and I think that we'll look back in May and think good point well earned, and it really helped us on the way to do something.
Yeah, and with all of that, there was the Gibbo opportunity right at the death where we could have snatched it.
Oh, I
But
forgot about that. I forgot about
yeah,
that.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
as a wise man once said, fine margins. The Brophy chance that hits the post and somehow doesn't go in. Colchester hit the bar. Yeah, could have swung either way on Tuesday night. Interesting. You mentioned the results elsewhere. I did want to get your point, get your thoughts on that because Neil Harris said it was a powerful point based on what happened around the league on Tuesday night. Are you? I think you've already answered this, but let's just expand on it. Are you in the camp of it's a good result, given that we've not lost ground on others because no one, well, only the one team won, or are you? I don't know. Are you glass half empty and say, well, actually, that was a good opportunity to pull clear a little bit of some of the others and also catch Bromley up by a couple of points. Um, feel like you're feeling more positive.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's all context, really, isn't it? I think I think a lot of it comes from the performance and the way that the game actually went in terms of like our own performance and our own game. Because like if it's a game where we've spent 90 minutes absolutely battering the door down and we haven't quite managed to get in,
Hmm.
you'd be very it would be very difficult to look at it as anything other than what you basically just suggested, which is 2 points dropped, really disappointing night. We missed an opportunity to sort of, catch ground on the league leaders and really kind of firm up our place in the top three. But it wasn't that, so it's kind of hard to look at it like that. I think. I guess there's a world where you'd say that maybe that's the most disappointing thing that on a night where so many around us sort of fell short, we couldn't quite do our job either and couldn't quite hit the levels that we have recently. But the other thing that is a really obvious thing to say, and I think is really true, and I think you do have to keep in mind is it's quite hard to win loads of games of football. Like it's not easy.
Absolutely.
And like you look at it, we've won what 9 of our last 12. That's
Yeah.
pretty phenomenal, really. When you look at again like we go back to conversations that we had. After Bristol Rovers, but when you look at teams that came down with us, for example, they've shown how hard it is just to like turn around that the mentality of where you lose most weeks to one where you basically win every week, and that's what we've been doing. And it's been a bit of a weird run, really, hasn't it? Because, obviously the Harrogate game's in there as a bit of an outlier. But other than that, we've not really drawn any games. We've just won so many. Um, so it's going to happen. And I suppose part of it as well is that you do kind of forget what it's like to have a disappointing afternoon or evening at the Abbey in terms of the result, um, or disappointing-ish. But yeah, look, the opportunity will come again. Saturday comes around soon and all that. So yeah, not too disheartened. And again, it's probably coloured a little bit by the fact that I think when you're riding as high as we are and doing as well as we have been recently, it's much easier to just look at it and take the positives out of things rather than really kind of nailing down on the negatives and kind of kind of zoning in on them. So yeah, there's a bit of conscious positivity there, but I'm not disappointed with how things played out on Tuesday too much really.
Yeah, the point you made there about just winning so many games, especially the nine over the last 12. Harris said a couple of really good things or really interesting things immediately after the game, but also in the presser on Thursday. He spoke about, the disappointment in the dressing room because the group are just so used to winning at home. It's something that they've really kind of become accustomed to, and so are I assume proud and disappointed that they can't they couldn't get the win across the line. And he's saying that he had to speak to them and say, look, remember the context here. Remember it's a good performance from Colchester. Um, so yeah, I thought that was interesting. And the other thing he said as well was that Tuesday night games or midweek games in the latter stages of the season, which we're not in the run in yet, but we are creeping up to the latter stages, are a little bit haphazard or a little bit harder to call. and Tuesday night was a good example of that. Some surprising results. Bromley, dropping points at home, Salford losing to Newport at home. So it was, these kind of results happen. And I guess if you start throwing into the mixer that midweek games might be the second midweek in a row, and you're looking like 4 games in the shortest period of time, those things can sort of creep in. Did you get that sense on Tuesday night? Because you mentioned at the very top about some of the levels and some of the performances weren't up to where they normally are. Did it feel to you like that was a group of players that had just finished their fourth game in what was it, 2 weeks? Back to back midweeks.
Yeah,
Look
maybe
a
a
bit
bit. I
leggy.
mean, yeah, like possibly a little bit. I think that's always going to be the case. I think mentally, more than anything, it's really tough just to keep going and going and going again, and that's why these promotion battles are so hard, really, and that's why not many teams are in and amongst it because it's a really difficult thing to do to win on the Saturday, or well, win on the Tuesday as it was, then win on the Saturday, then go again on the following Tuesday, then again to Saturday again. So it is hard. I mean, I guess maybe there's a bit of that. I think more than anything, it probably is like mental fatigue because there were so many times where like the balls, like a ball would just be misplaced, a pass would just be totally misplaced, or just kicked out of play, for example. So like that's just maybe like lapsing concentration. Maybe it's just a little bit of you know, yeah, just a bit of fatigue creeping in. So that's probably a fair point. I hope the Tuesdays aren't too hard to call throughout the rest of the season because we have got a few of them.
Hmm.
Um, so we could do with them not being like really difficult to call. But yeah, I think it is what it is. I guess arguably you'd like a clear week, after Saturday to really regroup, refocus, and go again. But these are conversations that we're only having because we didn't win the game, aren't they? We wouldn't have been talking about a fixture pile up if we'd found a winner, if Gibbons' chance had gone in, because we'd be going, it's brilliant when you have these games coming thick and fast because you're doing well and momentum carries you through. So maybe there's a bit of that, but maybe there's just a bit of kind of you know you have 2020 vision with hindsight, don't you? So I guess it is what it is.
Let's touch on some of the bits of action from the game then. First thing, wanted to get a gripe out. Second game in a row where we've attacked the NRE in the first half. Obviously, full disclaimer, that might not be our decision, but just wanted to put it out there, Tom. Don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, to be honest. Also, kind of really plays with my sense of what time it is, to be honest. Because I don't know, just you just get set in your ways as a football fan, I suppose. But yeah, not a massive fan either. Especially probably
And that's
more so
coming from a
if
man that knows his timings at the football, specifically when
yeah,
to leave in the first half.
minute 38. See you later. No, to be fair, I saw the whole damn thing on Tuesday night. Good thing as well because I was sort of pacing it from Cambridge North train station down the immaculate footpath that they built there, which like carried me to the ground in about 15 minutes flat, just in time to see the opening goal. So, yeah, I'm not a fan either. Less of a fan of it if it's our decision. I understand it if people want to flip us round because the NRE does have a habit of sucking the ball into the net late on. We've seen it a few times this season. So yeah, not a fan, but these things you have to deal with.
I was having a discussion on Saturday with friend of the pod who'll be listening to this, who claimed that we score a lot of early goals this season. I'm not sure that aligns with my memory, but I'm getting old and I can't remember much of the season. Obviously, Tuesday, great example of an early goal. What's your thoughts on that? Are we scoring a lot of early goals? Correct me if I'm wrong there. But then also, let's just talk about Tuesday's, opening goal and how it came from the two in form fantasy EFL players. Hey, didn't think we'd be saying that on a podcast.
Nope.
Point machines they are, Kel Watts and
Especially
Ben Knight.
because especially because I, like many people listening, I assume, had totally forgotten the EFL had released its own version of the Fantasy Premier League.
Not been playing it. Not been playing it, mate. I took that from X. Great content on there.
No, I mean neither. I did. I signed up for it, and I did it. I think for the first week last season, and quite literally haven't opened the app since.
Defender
So yeah,
goals though. That's big points, isn't it? And that's what 7 goals now for Kel Watts. I think.
yeah,
I
I
think I'm
know.
right in saying that's the most goals from from a defender since we've been promoted back into the
Yeah.
Football League.
Yeah, he scored more goals in the last fortnight than Ryan Loft has for us in his entire Cambridge United career. Um,
Yet,
oh, it's a shame
so
to get a
far.
digging at Lofty there. I feel like I'm better than that. Um, I don't know. I don't know about the early goals thing. I'll take that point first. I know that again, Kel Watts again scored a very early goal against Chesterfield. I think that was probably 5 minutes in. That one I did miss because the wasn't the footpath's fault. It was, however, the train's fault because it was slightly late. So I got into the ground literally just after he'd scored that. That was one. I can't really think of too many others. I feel like maybe against Bromley at home, we were 2 goals up quite early on in that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the only ones off the top of my head. There's probably some absolute clangers in there that we're missing. People
Was
might be
Bromley
sweet.
where we wore the fourth shirt because we'd scored
Was
early?
indeed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that
Was
game.
indeed. Was indeed. Yeah, I was so influenced by our early start in that game. I went out and purchased one myself. So, but yeah, I mean, look on the goal on Tuesday night. I think the first thing I want to make a point of is the incredible levels of confusion that it caused in the NRE about what had happened, who had scored, who got the last touch, who's it been credited to. Um, a couple of very well-timed decisions to cash out on bets that have been made for Ben Knight to score first, which is great to see. Don't mind that the bookie's taking a bit of an unnecessary bashing. Um, but yeah, it was Kel Watts in the right place at the right time. We were looking for a goal scorer. Turns out we found one. Turns out it's here all along.
Still refusing to score with the thigh, though. I guess that's probably the closest he's come. I'm not sure
Oh yeah,
which part of the body it was, but yeah, it wasn't the head.
yeah. I mean, this one can't have been far away, can it? This one was. I mean, it just sort of glanced off his body, didn't it?
I
Yeah.
I want to follow up or follow your example from the review show at the weekend, where you had a gripe with Kel Watts scoring all these goals. My gripe with him scoring all these goals is the celebration. He's doing what, that sort of cup in the ears or hands to the ears kind of celebration. I want like an old school pantomime thigh slap. That should be the celebration. So that's my
Yeah,
gripe.
I'm on board with that. Just to be clear, absolutely
Keep
no
scoring
gripe.
goals, Kel Watts, and we'll keep finding holes with it.
Yeah, just to be clear, I do want to clarify. I don't have any gripe with him scoring as many goals as he is. He can keep doing that. More than happy for that to keep happening. It's more the fact that there hasn't been a single one off the thigh. Yeah. I mean, like you say, the celebration is the same quite a lot. Actually, it's weird that a centre half has like a something of a signature celebration forming. But we'll roll with it and see how far we can take it. I would say that we are due a thigh goal. That'd be great. I suppose it's a world where Crew away late on, we're looking for a goal. Corner comes in, he's at the back post, thighs it in. What a way to win promotion that'd be. That'd surely top the lot.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful stuff. So we get our noses in front early doors. Were you thinking at that point this is going to be a relatively straightforward evening? The trepidation of coming into the game, you sort of put your nerves at rest a little bit, and then what followed from there, Tom, I guess was dominance. Would you say dominance? Neil Harris, I think, was saying we were quite dominant. Had enough of the ball and opportunities, but couldn't find that second goal. As mentioned earlier, Brophy obviously came close, hitting the post. Did it feel at that point getting the second goal was going to be crucial, or did you feel so sort of content that we were in control of the game?
Um, yeah, I think the sort of pessimist in me came out to play on Tuesday night a little bit. I thought it was too early. Classic thing. Scored too early.
Well, Luke Shaw there, is he?
Yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah, I think I did say a few times, literally just after the goal had got in, that's gonna be too early, isn't it? Yeah, like dominance might be too strong a word. I think I actually used that word just about 5 minutes ago, but I think it probably is a little bit too strong. We were the better side after scoring, and you felt like you just like again like you want to capitalize when you're on top. I know it's League Two and it's maybe not quite as cutthroat in that respect as League One was, but you still want to be able to just capitalize and sort of take initiative when you have those spells of pressure. What we probably failed to do that we've been able to do in the last couple of games is really convert possession into actual chances. I'm
Yeah.
not sure we created anything really clear cut in that period, but I guess the way it's gone this season is that you always feel like you'll get a moment as well, so you're never too concerned. But it did have a feel of a game that needed a second goal, to be honest. Well, Sorry, we needed a second goal. The second goal
A
came.
second goal for the
That was a
U's.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, the word dominance that we've been using, Neil Harris post game was saying he felt that Colchester's equaliser, the goal, was their first touch in our box. I'm not sure if that is correct. I haven't checked the stats, but what were your thoughts on the equaliser? And specifically, are you questioning the marking there? Payne seems to be pretty free to sort of to ghost into the box there and get his head to it.
Yeah, it was a poorly defended goal. I think it's a disappointing one to concede. There is a bit of misfortune in that the ball that comes in. I think is it. I can't remember who it is who plays the ball. And is it Edwards maybe on the left hand side? Um, the cross he puts in is obviously deflected, which balloons it up over any of our defenders. So that's a bit of misfortune, I think. But just like felt like there was a few opportunities maybe to try and hack it away or clear it away, which we did really well for the rest of the game. I will say, I think we like by hook or by crook we were able to clear our lines, but in this instance we couldn't quite do it. Like I said, the ball comes in, it's kind of ballooned up, it takes a deflection, and then yeah, that's a disappointing thing. Is that it's Payne unmarked to the back stick, and in the end, his finish is quite simple.
Yeah,
That's a disappointing thing. And again, like I think you sometimes have to remember the level that you're playing at, and therefore the level that the players that are playing for you are playing at. You don't want to be leaving that sort of run into the box unmarked. You feel like he should be picked up by someone. And I guess because of his position on the pitch, it probably has to be one of the centre mids, but they're nowhere to be seen around him. So, there's disappointment there. It feels like one of the easier goals that we've given away this season.
yeah. And the fallout of that goal was how it, rejuvenated Colchester. And I feel like it's fair to say, Tom, the impact it had on them for the rest of the half and for the opening exchanges, opening 20 minutes or 25 minutes or so of the second half, very much gave them the momentum. They were on top. Seemed like they were more likely to maybe push on and get the win. How are you feeling at that point?
Um, Quite concerned, to be
Yeah,
honest. Just because, like, I think, and again, like, it's more credit to Colchester really than it is, as a massive slight on us or how we played in the game. I did think they just posed a lot of threats, and the one thing that was really obvious from just from watching them on Tuesday night is not only did it like they cause you threats, they cause you a lot of threats in different ways. Like Tavide is totally different to Lisby, who's different to Edwards, who's different to Payne. They've all got different qualities. They can all hurt you in different ways. And look, like ultimately, right, we're sat here talking about a team who are what literally 12th in the league. So we don't want to go overboard on how good they are because the table literally says otherwise. We're 14 points ahead of them. So arguably maybe we can deal with it a little bit better. But they caused us a lot of problems. They retained the ball well. I thought they moved the ball quickly, and I just thought like the thing that was so different from Saturday was we just responded to them equalising really badly.
yeah.
Saturday was different because obviously immediately they score and then immediately you've got half time, so it's a good opportunity for the manager to be able to regroup him and you go again. And we obviously did respond well to that in the end. But yeah, you're absolutely right to say that. I think after their goal that it buoyed them, to be honest. And you could see that in the way that they were playing. And I think, to be honest with you, it was the case for literally until the subs came on. For me, to be honest, sorry, our subs that is. Until that moment, it just felt like it was going to be a matter of time until they scored. And then the argument is, can you maybe just make it a little bit earlier, give yourself a bit more of a chance to actually turn the game around and try and win it? But yeah, for sure, like credit to Colchester because when they equalised, they were the better team for probably about 40 minutes of the game.
I was going to say they just didn't look like a team who had lost what three in the last five or six ahead of coming to us. Yeah, pressed really well, didn't they? They're really energetic, good pace, and we struggled with that press. But you mentioned the subs there. I think credit to Neil Harris for making them. It was a treble sub on the 72nd minute, I think. Changed the game and swung momentum back our way. What was your critique of that substitution selection?
My my critique of it is that it should have happened sooner. That's the
Hmm.
first one. And we've been at times quite critical of managers for waiting too long to make subs and then the game getting away from us. Fortunately, it didn't this time, and obviously Neil Harris currently has a lot of credit in the bank this season, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt for that. But when they did come, I thought they made the right sort of impact. To be honest with you, particularly I thought Smith was really good when he came on. Obviously, it's been a while for him, so it's good that it's a difficult game really for him to be chucked into the middle of. But I thought he made a really good impact when he did come on, and yeah, I mean, look, I think Lavery and Bennett struggled a little bit, but it did become quite clear that it maybe wasn't the sort of night where we were going to have loads of opportunities going forward. But yeah, I felt a bit of a change in personnel. Really good leadership from Smith as well. I think again, like a player that we've just not had enough chance really to give praise to and to be um, complimentary of, just because he's not really had enough minutes on the pitch more than anything. And obviously, he's, some indifferent performances in League One, but I felt he come on and really, really helped turn the tide, to be honest. And it was pretty noticeable, like I think anyway, like from where I was stood, that when those subs were made, like Colchester's momentum just stopped quite a lot. And we were commenting on it like in the ground. We were like, I think there's probably about 10 minutes left at the time. So shortly after the subs came on, we're like, it's quite weird that Colchester seemed to have settled for a point. Like, you've been the better side for like the most of the game, and they just seem to have sat back. And part of that is maybe them, subconsciously being happy with a point away at a team who have the best home record in the league and who were second going into the game and still occupy a top three spot. And part of that is that's a good result. Like, clearly that has to be seen as a good result. But another part of that is that we, like, what did we do to impact it? And I do think that we were able to just stem the tide a little bit, shored things up in the middle of the park with going to a three-man midfield, and that helped us take a point out of the game. So credit to Harris. Subs maybe a little bit late for my liking, but they were the right ones. They had the right impact.
Do you think he was wrong to maybe not put Nevitt on and go two up top, Lavery and Nevitt? Do you think that could have maybe been the difference?
Yeah, like
It's not getting a lot of game time, is he, Nevitt?
no, he's not. A bit like Raggett, who obviously also came in on loan. I think like when you come in on loan to a team that's doing well, but there's two arguments to this. The one I'll make first is that it's quite hard to get into a team and get lots of minutes in one that is doing so well. So that's the first thing. The counter argument to that is that Nevitt, arguably because of who's currently occupying the number 9 spot in Louis Appere, should be getting more minutes, in my opinion. We had we've had quite a lot of chat about Louis Appere in the last couple of weeks, and we had a lot of chat at half time at Oldham saying that he wasn't good enough, not up to it, all that sort of stuff. He then scored twice in that game, so benefit the doubt and obviously deserved to retain his place. But what we've seen since then, for me, is just the ball not sticking up front at all. And it was really noticeable on Tuesday night that every time the ball went forward, it came back. And when we're talking about being under the cosh, Colchester having the better of possession, the better of the game, you need it to stick up top. You need an outball. You need an outlet to just get up the pitch like 30, 40, 50 yards. And that's where I think if you look at Nevitt, he's someone who we've not seen loads of. But what we have seen is that he at least competes in the air. Like, doesn't
Mhm.
win everything, but like, there's times on Tuesday night where Apre's not even jumping for headers. And you're like, this is so easy. Like, Tucker looked great, the Colchester centre half. But of course he did, because he didn't have much to defend against. And that's where I think, to be honest, rather than bringing Nevitt on with 10, 15 minutes left to try and win the game, like my question is, why is he not starting the game more than
Yeah.
anything? And that, I think, again, we'll come on to it, shortly when we go to Newport. But that for me is one of the big selection dilemmas, I suppose. One of the big things that people will look at is, you know,
Yeah.
what's happening up front.
No, I agree. I feel like, except for the second half of Oldham away, it doesn't seem to be working enough for me for Appere to be starting or to be playing as much as he does. It just feels like attacks break down around him. Um, anyway,
Yeah, they
final.
do, and like look, I again, probably because we're doing pretty well really overall this season. I don't want to be like too critical on individuals, and particularly Apre, who at the start of the season was kind of the shining light, but it has gone off the boil a little bit. And look, I understand that, I accept that aerially he's not going to win many duels because it's just not like a big strength of his game. It's not his game, frankly. And maybe there's another argument, which is, if that's the case, like, why do you keep playing in a way up to him, which is so difficult for him to make anything of?
Mhm.
But then, like, you look at the other parts of the game, it's things like first touch, like even like off his foot or off his knee or off his thigh, even at times, like, he's struggling to keep the ball anywhere near him, and like, so much stuff was breaking down around Apre. Like, you're right, and it can't be avoided
Yeah.
really, like that discussion. So that for me is when we look ahead to Newport, that's one of the big selection things. And there's a shirt there to be won. And like Lavery comes on as well. Like we've barely even talked about him really. And I guess the other thing I'd say, just rounding off an Apra and rounding off a little bit on Tuesday night, was I was watching that game and I thought this is a team which is absolutely crying out for Kylian Kwasi to come back into it.
Oh
So
yes,
I can't wait
please.
for that as well. That's like that for me seems like a brilliant option to have to come back in. So that's what I'm waiting for. But in the meantime, we might have to make do with Nevitt and or Lavery.
Yeah, the Apare form is a concern when your goal machine, Gibbo, stops scoring as well. You'd forgotten about that chance. Do you want to talk about it anymore, or should we bury that one away? Because that was the moment. You're always going to get a moment, aren't you? You're always going to get an opportunity. And like you said a little bit earlier, we've been good over the last few weeks of being tidy in front of goal and taking those opportunities when they come. And yeah, I don't know how he's not hit the target there.
Mate, we've spent like the last month or 6 weeks actually praising James Gibbons to high heavens, not just for his defensive performances, but for his ability to get into attacking positions and make an impact there. And the ball falls to you in what is it, like the 88th minute, and you sky it over the bar and you're labelled a prat. And that's
Yeah.
the
I didn't call him a prat. Those weren't my words.
no, no, obviously not. That's unfair. But I think, oh yeah, I mean,
I mean, I'm calling that like when we're not
like
recording, but yeah.
like that would have been stuff of champions if that ball hits the back of the net. You've been under pressure for so
Yeah.
long. You're off the par. Sorry, you're off the boil. It's an under par performance. A team have really come and put it on you, and you just about accepted a point, and then you snatch a winner.
Yeah.
That would have convinced me like nothing else that we will go on and win this division. But alas, it sails over the crossbar, and we've got to work for it.
Still love you, Gibbo. I was just sort of saying it's a bit of a bit of banter that your goal exploits or your assist exploits ran out on Tuesday night, but let's make it right away to Newport on Saturday. Couple of things from the press conference on Thursday that I wanted to run past you, Tom. The big one, and the one that they spent most of the time talking about, it's been 1 year since Neil Harris returned, since Mark Bonner returned. So I guess firstly, happy anniversary. Hopefully the card arrives, and yeah, it's been some time. It's been some changes in that time. What a crazy ride these the last 12 months have been, and what a turnaround that we've seen.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And to be honest, I sort of waxed lyrical about it on the review show, and spent a lot of time speaking about the impact of someone like Mark Bonner, for example, and what he's had, and how impressed I've been really with the way that we've managed to turn the ship around, essentially. Um, but I do think it's worth talking about again because. Like you're right, obviously the fact that it's a year to the day is, or we've just gone past that point, I should say. Um, it is obviously one of the kind of milestones, I suppose, that you do look at and you do reflect on what's happened since, and probably, if we're being honest, the impact that probably less so Bonner and more so Harris had in League One, like it made us more competitive. But I think if we're being really honest, it maybe didn't have quite the points return that we'd have liked. I think we wanted to be more competitive, not just in how we're, um, staying in games and maybe losing games by the odd goal rather than being battered. We would have maybe anticipated us being more competitive in terms of a points total and actually getting a little bit closer to survival. That obviously didn't materialise, but what it did do is it gave him a great opportunity, which is something he talked about in his presser, to really evaluate what he wanted going forwards. And I think even if we maybe wanted to make it a bit tighter and obviously like have more of a crack basically at actually staying in the division, I think we all kind of secretly accepted when they came back in February last year. This is basically a bit of a run up to having a good season in League Two next year, and that's obviously what it's proven to be. Um, I think we've done well to. We probably retained more of the squad than I thought we would, to be honest, in the summer. But a lot of those decisions have proven to be quite inspired. People like Kel Watts, for example, who have obviously come on leaps and bounds. New contract for Kai. A lot of people would have questioned that. He's obviously
Hmm.
done well. So that's just to name a couple. We've recruited well for the most part. I know there's been some in there who maybe haven't made the impact that they might have liked. People like Zach Bradshaw, like we've not talked about him for God knows how long. We managed to recruit high quality people like Pelly Ruddock coming in, Ben Knight, obviously. Bonner's job, I think, has been, or sort of how much you can praise it, is probably very recently got up a notch as well. Securing Ben Knight to a new contract, securing George Hoddle to a new contract, McConnell as well, is all really good work. And the club just feels like it's in a much better place, to be honest. Um, and yeah, that's testament as well to the ownership as well, because like we said on the review show, I don't want to just totally repeat what we've said just a few days ago, but there is a very realistic world in which we come down with Gary Monk as our manager and Ben Strang as director of football, and they both leave, and you've got no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
They made a decision again, like maybe some people might have said it's a little bit late because it was too late, realistically, to any proper impact on preserving League One status. But I tell you what, George gave us a hell of a platform to build on. That's exactly what we've done.
I mean, we I've lost count of the amount of times that we've said that over the course of the season, but I think the big point is just comparing ourselves to the three other clubs that came down with us and the seasons they're having, and that's the work that Bonner and Harris have done. I could sit here, Tom, and talk about the mentality and how we've changed and all those things, but instead, I'm just going to say this: 19th of February 2025. Do you remember what a crazy day it was? It was just a silly day, the news coming out. So yeah, I'll look fondly back on that one.
Yeah, I set a 5K PB running home to do the
Oh yeah.
to do the pod record. Nearly exploded my hamstrings like Shane Lavery style. In the process. Oh mate, yeah, I I will never forget that press release. I will never forget that, and that sounds boring, but it couldn't be
Yeah.
further from the truth.
Or just watching the video, they're sat next to each other being like, it's a bit comical, this. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. And what what I've not done is go back and look at all the reactions, but I'm pretty sure we were very positive at the time. And I'm glad we've been proven right on that. Well, so far, obviously it might spectacularly crash and burn, but yeah, look, for the time being, I mean the vibes were immaculate, weren't they? Absolutely immaculate.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that that sort of carried through with admittedly one quite significant blip in the middle of it, but yeah, good times, good times.
I just remember doing the pod that evening and it's just sort of Julie just opening it up with like the biggest hospital pass to me and being like, are they going to do it? They're going to keep us up. Me waffling unsure nonsense for a few minutes, then listening to the release the next day, and he'd cut it from the edit, which was the correct thing to do. Um, Elsewhere in the presser, some not so good news in the form of George Hoddle having an operation. Had an operation on Tuesday. Harris says he will be back for the end of the season. So I'm assuming that's sort of 2 months out, something like that. My first question on this topic to you, Tom, is actually a question that you asked me earlier, or the UTAS group earlier, and that is, can you imagine that 4 months ago, being told that Hoddle was going to be out for a period of time would be such a big blow for our promotion hopes? Yeah, what a testament to how well he's taking his opportunity and what a great prospector he is.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I think it is a real blow because he like between him and Penny Ruddock, they formed a very very strong partnership that was the backbone of a team that went on a record breaking unbeaten run for the football club. And Hodder was like, arguably a bigger part of that because it coincided with him coming into the team, whereas Pelly had been in it all season. Yeah, I mean he's just progressed so well like over the last few weeks, and like it is a really gutting blow, and it feels like you know obviously we all hope that we go on to achieve what we want to, which is automatic promotion basically, or at least promotion of some sort. It would feel not right for him to not play any part in that. So in so sorry, any more part in that, I should say.
Yeah.
So I do hope that he can come back before the end of the season. For him, obviously, it's another learning curve, I suppose. Like it is the most positive way you can put it. Um, like a proper happy clapper positive way of putting it. A learning curve, surgery. Not really sure how those two things should go together, but the good thing is he's got a good, well, I suppose role model maybe is the word, in someone like Mamadou Job, who has basically had the same career arc in a way of maybe struggling initially to get into the team, found his place, then got injured, and then came back from it and has got better. So yeah, there's your challenge, I suppose. But I suppose as much as we can talk about how gutted we are, and obviously wish him all the best for his recovery and stuff. I think that it's basically just a really good opportunity to praise the impact he's had since coming into the team. 'Cause it's been 3 or 4 months now where he's just been really good, really reliable, really really dependable. And I think the biggest compliment that you could pay is to him is that you'd have no idea that's his first run in the team. You'd have no
Yeah.
idea. You think he was like a 28-year-old seasoned pro who's been there and done it before, even at higher levels. So, yeah, fair play to him for the impact he has had. All the best to him for the recovery that will come, and hopefully it's not too long until we see him in the team. I really hope it's this season, and I really hope it's playing a part in the team, which is just seeing out. Um,
Just
you
lifting
know,
a trophy on the final day in front of the away end at Crewe, maybe.
yeah, how about that? How about
Yeah.
that?
What I loved in the presser was Neil Harris sort of giving a little insight into, you know, bits and pieces around the club and players that we don't see. And his story about George Hoddle was that, with the exception of the 6 days that he was off on holiday.
Disgusting that, by the way. Holiday, you mad?
Well, what I loved is that Neil Harris said he was on holiday with his parents, like proper sort of, yeah, just embarrassed him a little bit there. Yeah, he was on holiday with mum
Yeah.
and dad. But other than that, when he was on holiday with mum and dad, he was in the gym every day and he was working hard. And Neil Harris was talking in the presser about not only him but also McConnell, who signed a contract extension in the week as well. If you work hard, good things come your way. And if that's the mindset and the mentality that Neil Harris and Mark Bonner have got in the club at the moment, then yeah, terrific stuff. All for it. Um, Obviously, it's going to be a big miss having Hoddle out. Is it a case of the news is kind of a little bit softer or a little bit easier to take, given what we were talking about a few moments ago about the impact that Corey Smith had on Tuesday night? Is that maybe putting a little bit too much pressure on him? He's coming back to fitness, but are you feeling a little bit better about the situation because, one goes out, but it looks like one is back for hopefully the rest of the season?
Yeah, 100%. There's your silver lining. Look, clearly very different profiles of player because one is evidently 35 and in the twilight of his career, and the other one is making his first inroads into professional football. But I feel like they obviously occupy a similar part of the pitch. I feel like they do a kind of similar job. They're the ones who hopefully just kind of keep it ticking over, win the ball back, and play it on. So yeah, pretty much exactly that, really. I think we've sort of quoted him twice here, but because you mentioned about fine lines earlier on, I always remember Sean Derry say when one door closes, another one opens. So we'll go with that. A great man once said.
Um, and we had it confirmed what we couldn't remember at the weekend about whether Domble went off injured or not. Was injured, obviously missed the game on Tuesday. According to the presser, 50-50 chance he'll be back this weekend. So I guess ultimately the good news there is that even if he misses the trip to Newport, he should be back for the next game, and it's not a longer term one, which I think maybe we were worried about at the time. Was it a reoccurrence of an injury that he already had? Um, we should probably move on to Saturday's trip to Newport and talk about our thoughts on that one. But before we do that, let's get some information about Newport County from the 1912 Exiles podcast. I spoke to Jamie. Okay, U's fans, it is time to find out a little bit more about Saturday's opponents, Newport County. We have a Newport fan from the 1912 Exiles podcast to do just that and help us understand the task in front of us. Big welcome to Jamie. Welcome to Under the Abstand.
Hey, pleasure. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I imagine you must be feeling great though after your result on Tuesday night. What happened
Oh
there?
my, I, I, I wish I knew, honestly. Yeah, we've been in a pretty dreadful run of form, understandably, as we find ourselves 24th in the league, but going up to Salford, which we weren't expecting. We never get anything at Salford, so we weren't expecting that. And all of a sudden, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 up, ending up a 3-1 win, and by all means, a much improved performance. So delighted with that. We're still bottom, but we are within touching distance of that fabled 22nd position in the league and safety.
Yeah, it's been a pretty tough couple of games for you guys. Swindon, MK Dons, Salford all in a row. So were you expecting to get any points? Well, what points were you expecting to get from that run of three games? And was it
Well,
free?
You know what? It was probably a run of 5 games because we started with Grimsby at home and
Hmm.
finishing with yourselves at home as well. So that run of 5 games is really tricky. And I'll be honest, we had a run of games before against teams around us. We had a dreadful performance at Bristol Rovers at the end of January, and you're looking at those kind of games where you're expecting to get something from it, or you need to get something from it. So, yeah, I wasn't sure where the win was going to come from. So
Hmm.
Salford wasn't the one, but we got 4 points from our last 4 games, and then going into this match against yourselves on Saturday to round off this tricky run. I'm a lot more optimistic than I have been in recent weeks, for sure.
Good stuff. Let's hope we ruin that on Saturday for you in the nicest possible way. Um, Talk to me about the season as a whole then, Jamie. Like you mentioned, bottom of the league as we speak. Were you expecting to be down in the sort of the bottom sort of 6 to 8 clubs? I seem to remember in the summer like a few sort of you know media that cover League One and League Two mentioned that Newport were going to have a tough year. Was that something that you were expecting going into the season?
Yeah, to be honest, it was. I think we've got one of the smallest budgets in the league by some distance, and I think the way that we've been in under the reign of Hugh Jenkins, former Swansea chairman, for 2 years now, and his approach is to sort of try and make it sustainable, try and find gems from the Welsh leagues, from non-league, and build them up. Uh, that recruitment policy probably hasn't worked quite as well. Maybe we've been constrained by the fact that the money just isn't there. And we looked at the signings in the summer and we thought this is going to be a squad that's going to struggle, not for want of effort or from lack of trying, but just because quite simply the quality wasn't there. And we came into the season as well with an untried manager in Dave Hughes, who is a former youth coach at Manchester United, but no sort of real senior experience. That didn't quite work out. Now we're under we've got former Leicester left back Christian Fuchs at the helm,
Hmm.
who again very little, if any, senior managerial experience. And when you're in a real scrap at the bottom of League Two, you're looking for an old wise head to take you to safety or get you the points on the board, regardless of the style or manner of football that you want to play. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, we were expecting to be in a bit of a relegation battle. Um, it's just proven to be a little bit worse than we were kind of expecting, to be honest, to where we find ourselves right now.
And what's the outlook like honestly for yourself, like in terms of, do you think it's going to go to the wire? Do you think there's a fighting chance? Obviously, great win on Tuesday night. It means you're only sort of the 3 points off Bristol Rovers calling Barrow on 27 points. Do you see enough in the team that you think you can make a bit of a fight of it?
Oh, if you asked me this 24 hours ago, honestly, I kind of resigned myself to relegation. And that's a horrible thing to say as a Newport fan and as somebody who's trying to really, I still want to get behind the team. I still want to get us, support us and want us to stay up. But, having watched us over the course of the last few months, you're struggling to see where the clean sheets just aren't there. The defensively is not quite strong enough, and there's a real lack of firepower up top in terms of the chances sort of being created and the goals going in the back of the net. So look, it was quite nice to see us. We basically on the podcast over the last few weeks we've been sort of bemoaning the fact that we're playing in a certain way, or the manager and the chairman or whoever it is wants us to play in a certain way, but it's not the way that will get you the points that you require to stay up. With 16 games to go now, we're probably realistically going to need to win, I would say maybe 6 of them at
Hmm.
least, which is going to be a tall ask considering we've only won 6 in 32. So, you know, we it was nice to see us sort of change tack a bit. We changed formation a little bit last night. We put two up top, and I think we were less inclined to play this sort of possession based game at the back, and we ground out a win basically. We ground out a win at a tough place to go for us. So if turning that corner maybe that is what we did last night, and we changed tack. If that follows on for the rest of the season or over the next few weeks, then I'll be a lot more optimistic, and I really hope that it wasn't just a one-off last night, to be honest. So yeah.
That's really interesting because my next question was going to be talk to me about the new manager and what the impact has been there. And so it sounds like he was playing a style of football, and then last night, then Tuesday night was a complete, 180 on that, and there's a different approach. So what's the style been before Tuesday night?
Well, I mean, interestingly enough, he sort of came in October, November time. I can't remember exactly, but his first few games, he was clearly feeling out, who he's got available in his squad, what qualities there, what he can do with it, and we were playing. I don't really want to sort of just say, "Oh, passing football's attractive and lump it forward football's not attractive but gets results." But there is some degree of accuracy to that statement, and it kind of works in terms of the fact that we don't have the quality to sort of turn into a prime Swansea Barcelona kind of team that perhaps there are sort of dreams of turning us into. But under Fuchs's sort of reign initially, we were picking up results, and we got a good win on over Christmas. I think we had 2 clean sheets in a row, which is unheard of for us. But then in January, it kind of like flipped back to, oh well, let's make sure our passing percentages are sort of much higher or much more accurate, and that's kind of where the form dropped off a little bit. And I think we just went back into our sort of we went back into our shells, and all of a sudden we just couldn't buy a goal, let alone a point. I think we went about 7 hours without scoring a goal before last night. So so I like I said, I hope the style continues to just adapt to what the needs are. Obviously, I'd love us to play exciting, attractive football, but when you don't necessarily have the squad available, or look, you're just scrapping for your life down there, you just need to pick up the points however you can. I don't care if every goal is a scuffed shot or a toe poke towards the net or it bubbles off someone else's head. I don't really care. I just need the points.
You'd
Yeah.
rather play League Two football than conference football, right? So if it's ugly, then yeah, you want to stay in that bigger league.
hmm
So what was the success on Tuesday night then? So it was a switch to 4-4-2. Any different players come in, or was it just keeping the same squad, but trying a different
Well,
approach?
I think the issue is, so up front we've kind of struggled, like I said, with just goals up front. I whoever our top scorer is, he will not have many. We've brought in a couple of players in January who just frankly didn't quite look the part, but we're still trying them out. We've got a lad in from the Welsh leagues, Kroll, who was top scorer in the Welsh Premier last season, but I think he's still probably getting up to speed. Another lad, Jameson, who I think he came from the US actually, and he's sort of been coming in and then coming off the bench. And again, we're just trying out different combinations. Courtney Baker Richardson, who's in his second spell with us now, he started last night, and I think having him up top kind of really helped us. And it brought the best out of Ben Lloyd as well, who's another lad who, again, we were thinking he's looking okay as a sort of midfielder option, but probably doesn't have the presence there. I think the real key thing for us since January is the signings of 2 midfielders. Our central midfield has always been a real weak spot for us. We tend to get sort of carved through quite easily. But we brought in a lad called Biggins, and a lad called Sprangler as well. So what I mean, 2 fantastic names, but 2 fantastic players who really put themselves about a bit and really sort of give us that physical presence in midfield, which is what you need at this level. And I think it's just a case of ensuring that we can get 2 up top, ensuring we can get service to those 2 up top, and whatever they can feed off and whatever they can put in and in terms of put shots away, we'll take that. But I think that's been our sort of real Achilles heel at the time. Like we like to play 5 at the back, or we did like to play 5 at the back, but it just ended up being leaving a striker who doesn't have necessarily the pedigree to really sort of score off his own back in League Two without any service, and then you can't really blame those strikers if they're just a bit isolated up top.
Yeah. So going into Saturday's game, if you were on Neil Harris's scouting network, what would your recommendations or advice be in terms of areas to target, ways that, Cambridge can get on top and get a win?
I think honestly, just get at the fullbacks, get at the defense as quickly as you can, put them under a bit of pressure. That's been a real problem for us this season. We've just not really, yeah, we've kind of like crumbled under a bit of pressure, particularly at the back, and we've conceded a lot of soft goals, particularly in the recent last month or so. If you go through our highlights reel, some of those goals are pretty ugly to watch back for us. So yeah, just putting us under as much pressure as possible and not giving us time on the ball. I think that's where teams have typically had success. And to be honest, it kind of depends on the fullback. We've struggled with fullbacks. We've got a lad called Tom Davis who is good, but he's been in and out of the side through injury. But then we've got other fullbacks like Glennon. Glennon is a fantastic crosser of the ball. I think he is our top assist maker, but he is pretty prone to a mistake at the back. And Liam Shepherd as well, who again is in his second spell at the club, but he's been in and out the side with injury as well. So I'll be honest, it all depends on which 11 we end up turning out because we're struggling to get our best 11 on the pitch at the moment, week in, week out.
And if McLaughlin plays for us, will he get a good reception, do you think?
I think he will. I've been thinking about this because I think I loved watching Shane McLaughlin. I think he put himself about a bit. He, very, very, great set piece taker, great on the corners, great on the free kicks. I think we initially had him at fullback and then we moved him into the middle of the park, and he was very adept at playing wherever you wanted to play him. And it was a weird one because at the same time, I didn't begrudge him for leaving, but I was also surprised he went to another League Two side.
Hmm.
Um,
Did
but
he
then
leave
at the
because
same,
of the budget situation that you mentioned
yeah,
earlier?
almost,
Yeah.
almost certainly, almost certainly. I think whatever you offered him would have been significantly more than what we offered him. Um, but at the same time, when I remember last summer when he left, I was like, I'm not sure we necessarily will miss him. Of course, I'd love him back in the side now, of
Yeah.
course. But that was before, yeah, before this season unfolded. But I think he'd get a decent reception. It wasn't an acrimonious departure.
And how are you feeling about Saturday? What's the confidence level and what's your score prediction?
Confidence level. Well, confidence level is probably at the highest it's been for about a month and a half after winning away last night. Having said that, our form is pretty. It's not great at home. I think we went a stretch between March and December last year without winning at home. Um, I think we won. Yeah, we beat. Who did we beat last month? It's either Accrington or no, Chesterfield. It was beat Chesterfield at the end of January. But yeah, we've just not looked really at the races at home quite a lot of the time. The other thing I'd say in terms of your scouting guide is score first. Whatever you do, score first because we typically struggle to come back once we go behind. I think our heads drop or we just look a little bit lost. And I actually did some digging, and the last time we won after going behind was August in the league. This is August 2024.
Hmm.
So yeah, my
A
advice to you is
while.
score first. I think the first goal is going to be absolutely crucial on Saturday. But I'm relatively confident. We tend to up our game against some of the bigger sides. As we got a well-earned point against Grimsby at the start of the month, and Salford. They're in the playoffs. Winning up there, which we never do. Yeah, it's fantastic. So look, I've got to be confident because we are desperate, desperate for anything. But I know Cambridge are on a fantastic run of form right now.
If it makes you feel any better, you mentioned your home form there. I was just on your podcast and we mentioned the Harrogate Cambridge result. Harrogate had lost all 10 of their home games before we showed up. So that's yeah, hopefully that aids your confidence a little bit more. What are you going for? Are you going for another win, back-to-back wins after Salford?
Why not? You know what? Let's go 1-0. A weird clean sheet for us, which I can't remember the last time that happened. Well, no, Grimsby we kept a clean sheet, but yeah, a home win would just lift the mood, I think, of the Rodney Parade terraces. And at this stage, I've just got to go for it. I've just got to be confident and optimistic here.
Amazing. One last question, Jamie. Hopefully you're able to answer this one. But any Cambridge fans listening that are travelling to Newport, if they want to do anything pre-game, if they want a lovely pint pre-game, where are you sending them?
Oh, great question. I'll tell you what, bit of good food pre-game is the Newport market, this indoor market, and you'll go in there and you'll think you're in like Bilbao or somewhere. You'll think you're somewhere completely different. Fantastic, yeah, range of food and drinks. Yeah, and yeah, I'd recommend going there before walking over the bridge over to the ground.
Terrific. Jamie, thanks for everything. See you soon.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much for that, Jamie. I went on Jamie's podcast as well, Tom, and it was a video and it's up on X, which is great. It's always good to see a video of you chatting away on X. And
Great stuff on X.
great stuff on X. And the other thing, Jamie, when I asked him about best pub, started talking about this little food market very near the ground. And I was like, that is absolutely a bit of Tom Walker. So yeah, as good as Bilbao is what Jamie said.
As good as Bilbao. Come on now. Come on
It's
now.
like being in Bilbao, he might have said. That might have been the actual quote. But yeah, get your tapas on, everyone. Head down there. Big Tuesday night for Newport County, mate. An unexpected one. It's kind of put the cat amongst the pigeons a bit. It's kind of making it a little bit spicier down the bottom. It's kind of making things very, very tight there. Given that they've gone to Salford and won 3-1, where's your head on this? Do you think this is a good time or a bad time to play them? You know, is it a bad time because, you know, that result might give them that momentum and they might be, you know, believed, you know, rejuvenated spirit and things like that? Or could it be a good time to play them because that would have been a big effort, you know, a lot of running, a lot of pressing to get that result, and perhaps it might be a little bit fatigued. Maybe we picked up some things from the scouting on Tuesday night. So how we looking at this one, Tom? Because you mentioned your pessimistic side coming out every now and then. Have we put that to bed and it's optimistic?
You couldn't ask me that question again on Sunday, could you?
Yeah.
Because I think it's one of those where, like, look, only time will tell. The last time they won a game was before Tuesday night was against Chesterfield. At the end of January, they followed that up by getting beat at home by Accrington 4-1 and then losing away at Bristol Rovers 3-0. We've seen how poor both of those teams are respectively as well. So who knows? Basically, obviously it's a really good result for them. One of the things that Harris talked about in his presser was that they, you know, even though they've lost a few games recently, you know, against basically our rivals, as well as a win obviously at Salford, they have made teams work for it quite a lot.
Yeah.
MK only got one past him. Swindon, I think it took an own goal as well to make that game safe. So yeah, I think like it's a tough test, and I think in a way you'd like to think if ever it could serve us well, you'd like to think if ever there was a time for it to serve us well, this weekend's a time for a bit of reflection on Harrogate away and thinking it happened before, don't let it happen again. So yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
that's the question, mate. We can't have a repeat of Harrogate, can we? Surely not. And what lessons are you hoping that we've learned from going to, at the time, bottom of the league and losing?
Don't go to the bottom of the league and lose.
Don't take too many fans.
Yeah. Go there and win. You know, this time. That's the lesson that I hope we've learned. I mean, look, I think I suppose that we can go back and we can almost reinvent history with Harrogate. I don't think it was a case where I was rocking up there with our jollies out and thinking that we're gonna walk over them just because we've turned up. I don't think that was the case. I think we just played really poorly for the first 20-25 minutes. So obviously you have to be on it from minute one. I think is a clear thing. Hopefully this can repeat the trend of mirroring performances in our promotion season. Obviously a disappointing freak loss at Harrogate, but a really gritty win at Newport the last time we got promoted. So look, repeat that and no one will care what happened in the past. But yeah, I don't know if it's a good time or a bad time to play them. I suppose what I would say is if you're third in the league, going to bottom of the league, there's never a bad time to have that fixture, realistically. So yeah, focus on ourselves and get it done.
Unexpected hero when we went there last time in the promotion season. So looking forward to a goal from a not a normal source.
Louis Apre. Sorry,
Elaborate, maybe.
there's no need for that. That's out of
Oh,
order. That's out of order.
maybe it's time for the five. Maybe it's time for the five. What was I going to say? Yeah, I think the thing that I'm hoping that we've learned from that Harrogate defeat is it's going to be a battle on Saturday, and you can't have. And I think Harris sort of even said this in the presser, but you just can't have the number of people having an off day as we had against Harrogate. He maybe had like one or two okay performers that day, and the rest were just far from it. So yeah, as a collective, being up for it and being up for it from the first minute, like you say, important to have that big important start. One of the things Jamie mentioned in the preview, actually, Tom, was he doubts Newport's credentials once they go behind. So an argument there to really get at them and try and get our noses in front. One of the other things that Jamie mentioned in the fan interview was pretty frail and weak at the back, not very good with dealing with pressure and being pressed and tempo. So with that in mind, and given the flip-flopping between 4-2-3-1 and 3-5-2 over the last, well, not 3-5-2, but 3-4-2-1 over the last few game weeks, what do you want to see as a front option to get at Newport? Do you want a front four, or would you rather have the front three with wing backs?
I think there's a tendency to kind of throw the baby out of the bathwater with these things, and just because you had a disappointing-ish result against Colchester, you want to change the whole system, and also because you've gone to Harrogate and put in a stinker of a performance, then I guess that that was arguably partly a result of us changing the shape there. I think I think the same as I basically said on a lot of the preview shows I've been on recently. Try and keep it as simple as possible. Try and keep it as similar as possible. Really, obviously we're going to be without Hoddle, who obviously we've been without for the last couple of games. So you want to try and find your best pairing in central midfield. That is not Don Ball, regardless of fitness, and Pelly Ruddock. That experiment's finished for me, so I think Corey Smith should probably come in for that. Or McLaughlin, I suppose. Actually, maybe sit with those two. They've been doing quite well. The only change I'd definitely make, I think, is just the centre forward. I think it has to be Nevitt or Lavery. Other than that, I think you can get into a habit of maybe changing too much. Maybe Bennett could start. That's maybe one area. Maybe Bennett instead of Purrington. That's maybe one thing I'd look at. Means Brophy can be more natural on the left hand side. But I guess to answer your question more directly, I wouldn't change the shape, and there's only one or two changes I'd make in terms of personnel.
Nice. Yeah, he was sort of asked in the presser whether he'll rotate. He didn't sort of give the impression that there would be big changes. He also was of the opinion that when it comes to game 5 in the 2-week period, it's almost easier for the players because you kind of see that it is the end and you have that kind of, I don't know, second win to get through. So go on then. And what's your call for the lineup then? How are you doing your 1 to 11?
1 to 11. Do you want me to do it in the style of a matchday announcer, or do you want to? No, definitely
Can
not.
you do your best Dave Vant impression? Yeah.
Oh, that guy. Lovely to hear his name.
We can't talk about the promotion season and not get some Vanty in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've forgotten about that. That's a crime. It's a crime that's not been mentioned all season, actually.
It's a shame that he's not here the year that we have such a good bench. Such a deep squad that on the bench is quite exciting.
Yeah, because this time around you actually want to listen to it, don't you? Yeah, listen to who's on the bench. I'm not going to do it in that style. Disappointingly, I shouldn't have really offered, to be honest. Shouldn't have given false hope to you and the listenership.
Hey, I got my poem at the top of the show, so
it's basically
you're still in good credit here, mate.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. It's basically what I've just alluded to. I think Eastwood in goal, obviously. I'd stick with 3 at the back, which should be for me Gibbons, Watts, and Job. Yeah, Job. Sure about that. Bennett right wing back, Brophy left wing back, Pelly and I'll say McLaughlin playing against his former side. Maybe a bit of a maybe a bit of a point to prove, perhaps if it's needed. Kai and Knight behind. I'm gonna go Lavery. I think he's our best goal scorer, so get him on the pitch.
Start with Lavery. Interesting. Okay, and is it going to work? Are we gonna get the win on Saturday, Tom? What's the score going to be? Is it going to work?
Of course, it's going to work. Yeah, I think
I'm going all the way to Bilbao. It's got to work, mate. So
I think we should just about have enough. I think that thankfully you've just mentioned there about them maybe struggling to get back into games, having gone behind, I think we'll have enough about us to grit out a 1-0 win.
Excellent. I'm going to go 2-0. Why not? A little bit easier than when we did it in the last promotion season. Good stuff. Thank you as always for listening. A big thank you to our sponsors this year, the Old Spring. A reminder to go to undertheabbeystand.com to find out more about the coconut tier. We dropped a very interesting pod on there about football finances and Cambridge's finances with Kieran Maguire, if I'm getting his name right. So yeah, head over there for more information. Tom, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy that Bilbao food market in Newport.
Yeah, why not?